Good evening. It's time to get our meeting started. We don't need the roll call, approval, correction of minutes for prior meetings, awards, presentations, appointments.
And we have none. I have none scheduled.
Okay. Completion, review of unfinished business for prior meeting. Monthly report from the mayor. I don't have nothing. Monthly finance budget report.
We'll have a full report or a abbreviated report Tuesday night since Shipper's out.
You know, you just missed your chance, don't you?
What, baby? What I missed?
You said the mayor has no comment.
He don't, he ain't here.
I'm talking about the vice. You
Vice Mayor,
charge
no,
mine,
the
girl.
mayor don't have anything, he ain't here.
You know I got to miss.
I know it, baby. Monthly report from city manager.
I have a report for you Tuesday night. Unless y'all have something for me now.
I don't.
Okay.
Wastewater liaison report.
It's closed out, so
You
may say
take
that
that
every
off.
month. It's closed out. 2 decades of moratorium is closed out. Maybe that's going to be every month now.
Mount Pleasant gas.
I will have a report, but there's something on the agenda that I'll put in the report Tuesday night as well. But we'll wait till we get to that agenda item to talk about that.
New business. Ordinance 2026-1140. Sewage pre-treatment. First reading.
So I will preface today with the 3 ordinances that I'll talk about are important but very boring. So I have tried to summarize them, but you'll have to bear with me for just a second. So this first one is your sewer use or your pre-treatment ordinance. The purpose of this ordinance is to set forth uniform requirements for the disposal of wastewater in the surface area of Mount Pleasant wastewater system. This ordinance will be approved by TDEC. Once it is approved by the state of Tennessee, it is responsible for the enforcement of all federal, state, and local pre-treatment regulations. As you will see, this is a very technical document. It has been reviewed and revised by BARGE and by TDEC. It has also been preliminarily approved by TDEC, and we will seek the formal approval after this ordinance passes in its final form. The changes from the last version of this ordinance are highlighted and/or redlined on the draft that will be included in your packet. The most material changes are, first, we removed the actual listed numbers from the tables and just said you can find them on the website. So they still exist, but that was a TDEC recommendation to move it from the actual body of the ordinance. Adding continuously monitored pH violations to the list of non-compliance. Adding a requirement that if an industrial user monitors any regulated pollutant at the appropriate sampling location, more frequently than required by y'all, that they'll have to report those results in their monitoring as well. Most of the changes are just to correct TDEC rule references within the document. So there's lots of yellow, but it's just changing from like .12 to paren 12 or vice versa. Like they're not substantive changes. They're just references to TDEC's internal rules.
Just updating it and on.
That's right. Yeah. So it's a very long, boring document, but what you're changing is not that substantive, okay? And we'll have to send it off to TDEC for their approval. Also, as part of this ordinance is the enforcement response plan that BARGE created for the city. And that plan describes violations and indicates a range of appropriate enforcement options for violations of this pre-treatment ordinance. It outlines which responses are appropriate and identifies the personnel who must initiate those responses. It also outlines the effective timeframes for taking the action. So it just streamlines enforcement for your pre-treatment / sewer use ordinance. We call it both things, but this is something y'all have had forever. You've revised it several times in the past. The complete ordinance and the ERP will be in your packet, and the changes on both documents are tracked. They're either like redlined or they've got highlights on them. That's all.
Anybody got anything to say about that one? If not, we'll move to ordinance 2026-1141. Zoning first reading.
So the Planning Commission reviewed the proposed zoning changes that were made by the city staff on Tuesday, and they decided to defer it for another month to study it more, so that this will not be on your agenda on Tuesday.
Ordinance 2026. Yeah.
I know it's not gonna be on it, but is there, I guess, something, I guess, that we can look at to see what they're talking about changing?
Yes. It's on the website. It's on, there's the QR code still on there, but we can send it out too ahead of time.
Oh, okay, well, I did read some of that.
Mr. Davis, that's what I would go to, and if KCI put it on there, go to the, it's be the second tab, and it shows about 3 pages of the significant changes that's being proposed. So that was a good guide to kind of just look at, and if you got questions, just call me and I'll call
So,
Chris.
so when they do change it, you know, I guess like R3 or what, or the pub, or whatever they, you know, whatever they decided on. Like R3, will it have a yellow through it and show what has been changed so that we'll,
Yeah, so the way I kind of, Philip says the substantive changes, like they're all on a PowerPoint that you can, or it's a, I think it's a PowerPoint. Anyway,
Yeah.
they're outlined pretty clearly. You'll be able to tell. But then they changed a lot of like internal references and stuff too, just like we just did with the pre-treatment. So there's a
okay,
lot of changes that are not significant. They're just like moving the numbers around or like correcting a reference or something like that. So because of that, we did repeal and replace, or that's what they'll be considering, or repealing and replacing. But every change that we're making that's substantive will be highlighted in the draft that you get, or it was in the draft that they got. So yes, you'll be able to see clearly like what's changed. We also put in the body of their resolution that the planning commission looked at, every like bullets of every single thing that we looked at.
I would say it was a really,
Really?
really good discussion. So if you get a chance to go back, we taped it, right? Yeah, we taped it. So it'd be good to listen to it because it was really good. And there's a lot of interaction between the folks in the audience and commission.
yeah, I just didn't know if there's changing some wording like in R3, you know, and stuff like that, you know.
That was part of the discussion, that there was some of the proposed language in the description of R3.
Yeah.
There were some citizen comments that thought that was maybe too broad, and so the planning commission asked us as staff to go back and look at it and see if there was anything else we would recommend revising. So that was one of the
But that'll be
changes.
next month.
That's right.
Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It will not be on the agenda Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Ordinance 2026-1142, stormwater, first reading.
So the purpose of this ordinance is to create a stormwater utility within the incorporated city limits. A stormwater utility provides for the collection, treatment, storage, and disposal of stormwater, provides benefits and services to all property within the incorporated city limits. Such benefits include, but are not limited to, the provision of adequate systems of collection, conveyance, detention, treatment, and release of stormwater, the reduction of hazards to property and life resulting from stormwater runoff, improvements in general health and welfare through reduction of undesirable stormwater conditions, and improvement to the water quality in the stormwater and the surface water system and its receiving waters of the state, of which are managed by the stormwater administrator. To pay for the management, operating, maintenance, and improving the utility, the ordinance will also establish a graduated stormwater user's fee, which will be assessed and collected from each user of the stormwater utility provided by the city. So basically, we're building or establishing a stormwater utility. We're establishing a fee that would help pay for that going forward. So there's a base rate for detached single-family residential property, and it's tiered based on the parcel size. So if the parcel is less than 10,000 square feet, it's $3.50 a month. Right? It's a month.
Yes.
Yeah. And if it's 10,000 square feet to 15,000 square feet, it's $5.25. And then if it's more than 15,000 square feet, it's $7 a month. And then the fee for the other developed property, like anything else, is based off of the impervious surface times the equivalent residential unit, which is, I cannot explain this. There's a table in there, and this is one of the main reasons why JJ is here tonight. Go ahead.
Because I've heard a little, I don't, you know, when you say that square use, I don't know if it's the total land use, the square footage of your home and your driveway or concrete
The
or
lot.
so it is the whole lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the residential units is the lot size,
But
parcel size.
and I hate this in a way, and that's just like, I mean, I've got 4.5 acres. So I'm down at the bottom of the hill. So if somebody else only has the poor minimum or whatever, it's all coming down on me. And I just don't, I just don't think it's fair. I think it should be, I guess, residential. There should be something that would all charge the same. It's not like your property taxes. But I understand we need it. But I just don't think,
And JJ can explain a little more too. We talked about this, but this is a proven equitable process using the ERU unit. And I'm glad you're here because I spent most of the day trying to make sure I understood if I had to talk about how we come up with the ERU. But it's a proven equitable way to do it based off impervious surface.
I'm sure of that. There's no doubt about that. I mean, that's how you do property taxes is sort of the same way. I understand that. But this here is totally different from the water use. And I just don't, I think when you cut, it's just like your people on the end, let's, and we shouldn't even do nothing to begin with on this right here until we decide, because all of our water is going to Sugar Creek. That includes the railroad. So if the railroad don't allow us to have more drainage up under the railroad tracks, that's going to present us a problem. It's just like, there's been a lot of talk at the church. And a lot of our drainage, it's really, it should, and that's where I blame a lot of it on the city. I don't care if I got a drainage ditch running down my property, it should be my responsibility to keep that drainage open. So when that drain builds up with trees and little branches and stuff, that's stopping the water. And we have brought this on ourselves. I mean, this here's been going on for 15 years that I know of. And we always said we're not putting a shovel in it because it becomes our responsibility. But I guess now, something evidently has changed to make it our responsibility.
And it's totally up to y'all's decision. This didn't happen overnight. So over the last, I could say at least 5 years, it started with a town hall and flooding, right? And then engaging with MTAS, and then also MTAS recommending engaging with professional engineering, with the models, and then understanding what our tributaries are doing and where the water's flowing and where it's pooling. You're right about the railroad, but again, there are things in place, and JJ may could talk about it. We may figure out a way to slow the water down so we don't have to deal with that railroad. But how do we do that? This is the next step. If you want to, it's the next step.
It's already being slowed down by the little trees and stuff and the branches. Serious.
No, I mean, I totally agree. It's a big decision you have to make. The only thing I know to do is try to understand, and we have, and we spend a lot of money trying to understand our situation. It is a big decision to make. So we either move forward or we're still where we are.
I'm just saying, once we do open up the drainage systems, little trenches or whatever, it's going to present a big problem on the lower end. But you're only going to have that, maybe once or twice a year, if that. And I get all of that. But those people will complain.
The reason that, we haven't just gone out and dug up the branches or whatever that's keeping water from damming up the water on private property is because we didn't have a comprehensive system. So we don't have a comprehensive system.
Well,
this is us saying we will design a comprehensive system.
I understand that, but I mean, that never has been brought up in might as well say the 12 years that I've been here. Like, let me say, it has been brought up, but that's what I'm saying. Like, doing a comprehensive plan, none of that has ever been brought up because we've always said, once we put a shovel in the ground, it becomes our responsibility.
Yeah, I have to disagree with that because the whole point,
Well, why didn't we do something then?
We have.
because we can't do it without, we can't just take action without knowing the consequences of that action. So the stormwater utility would give us the funding to create this comprehensive plan. So no, we don't want to just go out there and start like digging up your neighbor's ditch and then affecting your house, because then
Right.
we have caused that problem. Right now, we don't have any comprehensive stormwater plan. So this is what would help us create that. And then, once we know where the water goes, once we have a design, we have a plan, we have funds, then we start building it. Like,
So if
we don't
we,
go put the shovel in the ground as soon as we sign this. That's not how it works.
We have a stormwater model that
Yeah.
we paid handsomely for to
Mhm.
understand
Yes.
what's going on.
right, I know that, yeah. But so we're saying now then, with the comprehensive plan, if something happens, somebody down in the city can't hold us responsible.
That's opposite.
So they can hold us responsible.
We're saying that we are going to take
That's what I'm saying.
ownership of this system, and we're going to build a system. There is no system right now. I mean, maybe I'm speaking out of, I need to let the professional here talk about it, but this is what we've been working towards for the past 5-6 years, is this. And if y'all don't want to do it, then we don't. But then we have said, we keep our position that we don't have a
But-
comprehensive stormwater system, so we don't.
But once, I'm not saying I'm all against it. I'm just saying, whether I'm for it or against it, once we get 10,000 residents or whatever, we're forced to. Is that correct?
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, and I understand, somewhere along the line we've got to. But I just don't, I just think it should be done across every residential should pay the same. That's just me.
So we established that starting with the ERU, which is basically we took a sample of different houses and parcels across the city and calculated how much impervious area was on each one. And so that is just looking at driveways, roofs, sheds, anything like that, stormwater is going to
Runoff.
run off of and not infiltrate. And so then we took that data and we found that was 5,871 square feet was the average amount of impervious area on a residential lot for Mount Pleasant. And so from there, we kind of developed the framework of what the fee should be. And the reason that it is based off of parcel size instead of the exact impervious area is just to alleviate the burden on the city of keeping up with the amount of impervious area. Because if someone adds onto their driveway or builds onto their house, that's a lot to keep up with when there's over 1,800 residential parcels within the city.
But I mean, it don't take much common sense to realize, you're gonna make more money off of the whole area of your property instead of just your concrete in your house or I mean, that's
Good point, but I think this methodology is what was in my mind and helped guide in like the user fee. I agree with the ERU, but it was based off of what is the least we can charge to hit those 20% capital projects in 5 years and go
Yeah.
after 80% grant. But you still got to have that 20% funding. So to be able to operate with basically no employees and using contract and make sure to stay up with this, but also the funding to get.
and I don't want to sound like I'm
No, that's fine. I was
much
just trying to give you
against
the
it.
methodology
But
of
I
it.
mean, I just think as far as residential on this right here, you take, what is it, I don't know what the dollar amount is on each one of them. But, add those two together and divide it by 2 and say all residential are gonna be charged this price right here. And if it needs to be more, do more. I don't know. I'm just saying some things it just, it's not fair. I'll just say it like that.
All right, let's move on. Ordinance 2026-1143, stormwater management, first reading.
So this ordinance is to grant the city the authority to exercise management and general regulation over stormwater. It follows the state law process to grant the authority. This is not something that the city has to do because the city does not have an in-force permit. But it gives the city control over standards for stormwater control, which benefits the public health. This is a proactive step for Mount Pleasant. The ordinance is separate and distinct from the stormwater utility ordinance that we talked about. It will support the stormwater utility, but it will also help with all new construction, regardless of whether the utility is established, by developing regulations and standards for management of stormwater and all. There are fines and fees that could be assessed for violation of this ordinance. These fees would be used towards the stormwater utility. Ordinance does not require, so basically what I'm saying here is these are separate ordinances. We've got them on the same day because they are, about the same topic, but we would recommend this one pass no matter what, because it gives you standards that can apply to any new person that comes in here and does construction. But they have to manage their stormwater according to Mount Pleasant standards and rules and regulations. So this is something that would help with the stormwater utility, but it is important to have it on its own. Don't have to, but we do think it's a good thing for y'all to have. Also, I'm going to back up to the last ordinance for a second. If y'all do move forward with the stormwater utility, there's a 30-day notice that would go in the paper because it would assign a fee for stormwater usage. And because of the timing of meetings, if it passes on Tuesday, then we would have the second reading in June so that we would have enough time for that notice to be out there. Sorry, that was my last thing, but this one would follow a regular schedule. And it took me, a long time to come up with this summary. Again, JJ can explain what this ordinance really does.
Yes, this one is more just setting the standards for any new development coming into the city. So new subdivisions would have to meet this standard. And so basically any new things coming in, it's going to mitigate any further issues being caused by that. So it's going to say anything built from here forward needs to meet this standard so that the stormwater running off will not cause greater issues for the city down the road. And yeah, it's just distinguished from the other ordinance as the utility is developing a funding mechanism to start paying for those improvements down the road.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason we're in the spot we're at is because we never had those regulations in place.
Yes.
So this will alleviate
Yes.
that.
So yes, it
Cause.
will moving forward, and then it'll give us the other ordinance would give us the funding to start fixing some of those problems from the past.
Correct.
Yes.
No, I had a quick story, JJ. This was a change order back in October or November to create this. And I said, JJ, no, I'm not. We're going to hold this until we create if we create the stormwater utility. And he goes, well, if you don't mind, let me tell you, it's just kind of separate because there's been a law passed that's coming into play where if a proven engineering principle comes in with their stormwater, even though we don't agree with it and we don't have standards, we've got to accept that. It's a good point, JJ. So that's why we went with this in a change order because I was going to wait. Let's wait. Let's see what else goes from here. But he had changed my mind on that. And either way, this if you decide not to go with, like Corey said, with the utility, I think this is a must.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Is that right, JJ?
Yes, like
Okay.
you said, that law would require after July 1st, then if someone comes in with plans that aren't up to standard, you have to accept them. And this would put those standards in place to where they have to meet the standard that you have set for stormwater on their private property that affects the public property also.
Which also runs concurrent with what we were talking about in the commission meeting with the committee meeting with the new standard, the new zoning. So that it's all about us having more control and the ability to make sure that things that are done here in town are done the right way and the way that the city wants them to be done. So I'm really
2015 property tax write-off.
So, to me, Corey. Okay. So this is something we have to do every 10 years, roll anything off the books. It will be in the package and you have, yeah, so 10 years ago, so 10 years you have to roll them off the books and the value was how much? $3,126. Just pretty good,
There's
right?
only a couple that had
Yeah.
any kind of material value. The rest of them were very
I
immaterial.
think that's from the very first tax.
Is it?
Mhm.
10 years ago?
Oak Lane bid.
So we did open bids. I should get, it'll be in your packet, the official, engineer stamped and recommendation, but by word of mouth, we had 4 responsive bids. The lowest and best bid, $363,137 for Pope Lane. The highest bid was $518,000. So, it's less than we expected. Yeah. So it'll be in your packet tomorrow, and you'll have a full recommendation Tuesday night, either award or not.
Emergency repair gas regulator.
All right, this one will not be an agenda item. I'll just move it up to the gas report on Tuesday night. We did make this an emergency purchase. Didn't really have to, but when they come to me and tell me that both regulator stations needed to replace the regulators, the pipings and all that, and it could wait until we went through the proper process, I was like, no, we're talking about gas, let's replace it. And I'll just let you guys know. So the total of those were, for both stations, was $32,000, $340, and split by 2 because both stations needed the regulators replaced and inspection. But I didn't want to wait on that.
DDEC ARPA closeout and change order number 3.
Yeah, so this is the
Proper.
ARPA water line on the north end that they put in. They're done with it. It is the last adjusting change order. The original contract price is $1,710,165. The closeout is $1,507,813. So it's $200,000 less than, and it was the quantities. Hear that? So again, it's unusual to have an adjusting change order down, but it is. So I mean, their match will be less. I think so.
Moving down to the general comments from our citizen, Katie Martin. Miss Kathy Overstreet. Mr. Lee Bork.
I actually messed up and I didn't know that stormwater was going to be talked about tonight. I came prepared to talk about the ordinance thing, but I'll kicking off a little bit on what Mr. Davis said. The fairness issue with the fee structure. I understand the administrative issues. A lot of the work's already been done because you talked about it already been impervious surface. Calculations are already there, part of your average. Well, if you already have an average, if you're talking about charging equal, you've got the number. You just, there's the number. You can do it. The average house is X number of square feet. And so you charge everybody the same thing. But interesting thing is, so anyway, I think a lot of the work's already been done, but your job, I'm not going to die on this hill. But it's interesting that it really penalizes people with larger lots. To the favor, it's not like we're paying the same as everybody else, regardless of your house size. If you happen to be on a larger lot with lots of grass and lots of yard to absorb the rain so that it doesn't go elsewhere, you're penalized by paying the highest fee. If you have a high density development where everything's packed in and you're paying on your lot size, you're paying the lowest. But you have maybe 80% of your area covered with impervious surface. So you're adding to the problem, not providing any absorption capacity to help with the problem, but you're paying the highest fee. I think that Mike's idea, however it's structured, at charging all citizens the same and not penalizing the large lot owners and large lot neighborhoods in order to have a lower fee to the small, high density or downtown areas. It makes a lot of sense to me. But that's just from the hip. So.
You said it a lot better than I did. Thank you.
Miss Laura, you got anything?
Yes, it was brought to my attention that some of the citizens here are wanting to do prayer on the square day. And so I wanted to drop it in the board's lap and let them marinate on it and see if we can go talk about it.
We used to have that.
You and Katie.
Okay, I'm not prepared to make, Phil and I met today about it.
Okay.
So it's in the, we're deciding if we need a permit. Well, we're gonna apply either way if we need a permit or not, because I think it would be good to have it on paper that something's gonna be there. That way there's no wondering with any of the city employees or other citizens and, yeah, that's all I really have right now. So it's very, early in
Once a month,
it.
But it didn't last, it faded out.
So I'll follow up with that. We did meet today. I did tell her to go ahead and do a permit. That way, the date she's going to do, and then if there is, the way I was looking at it is, if she's not requesting to like close streets, do this, do that, and it's a small group, then we would probably say no permit required. It depends on what you're kind of wanting to do. If you
Yeah.
do want streets closed off, or you're trying to make it a bigger event, then yes, let's go the permit process. But if you're trying to nail down a date to make sure there's nothing else scheduled, that way we've seen it, we know it. But if it's just a small group on the square for this time frame, I don't think
Would a permit clear us of
it's just a public space and it's a gathering. I mean, we're not closing anything down. So, but I hadn't had a chance to talk with staff because she asked me today about it. But I thought the first thing to do, let's do an application and let us talk through it. But again, if it's a small group on the square, we're not closing anything off. It's public space. And like you said, I go back from the past. There used to be prayer, National Day of Prayer. They would assemble on the square.
Are you thinking one time a year, like once a month, or?
Well, I was just gonna try once to start. Maybe we'll pray that people will show up and we can have more.
Well, look what happened with your cleanup day.
Well, yeah, it was really, people had a lot of fun. Like, it was actually very fun
Yeah.
for picking up trash. It was fun.
Mr. Davis, got anything? Ms. Johnson?
No, I'm good.
I got something, I think Saturday at 6, we got music on the square at Jennifer, no,
Porch.
on the porch at Jennifer Graham's house. So if y'all got nothing to do, come out, bring your lawn chair. Let's have a good time.
Played really good music.
If that's all, I guess we'll close this meeting.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
We don't need a motion. All right, meeting's done.
Can I read my
Later.
sometimes we